Hi everyone, today I'm going over the game from the Tata Steel Chess Tournament, round 11, between Wei Yi with the white pieces and Sergey Karjakin with the black pieces. This is an interesting game from a theoretical standpoint. So let's get into it. Wei Yi again had the white pieces and began the game with e4. Karjakin e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop to b5, Ruy Lopez, knight f6. Notice a6 not being inserted. This is a Berlin variation. d3, which is basically morphed into the main line against the Berlin defense nowadays. We do not see the Berlin Wall, which um, proved to be a very difficult nut to crack for even the highest rated grandmasters. And this D3 was spearheaded by Magnus Carlsen, and this would fall under the umbrella of the anti-Berlins. So bishop c5, c3, castle, and here is one of the main lines, and a dangerous line at that. So bishop takes c6. It's almost like a delayed exchange variation. So bishop takes c6, b takes c6. Okay. Now, of course, one of the differences between this is an exchange variation. Exchange variation of the Ruy Lopez. Black often takes or will take with the D pawn and open up the lines for this bishop here. But after knight takes e5, it's kind of difficult for black to achieve any compensation for the lost material there. All right. So after bishop takes c6, b takes c6 in order for black to be able to strike in the center with d5. This is important. So knight takes e5, and now black can strike in the center with d5. Now notice black is down a pawn here, and you can see the knight is threatening the c6 pawn, and this is important to understand uh, because black's play has to be very active and aggressive, because he'll simply be down a pawn if he plays passively. So in exchange for the pawn on e5, which he's just given up, he wants to take over the center, right, with his pawns and pieces, and also uses activity, right, his piece activity and lead in development to compensate for his lack of material. And this is the idea. So it's definitely not about trying to get the pawn back or anything like that, but it's basically uh, giving up material for open lines in the lead in development, which hopefully, or for black down the road, he hopes to translate that into um, some massive gains. Of course, getting material back, and then eventually uh, leading to checkmate of the opponent. So d4 by Wei Yi. This is all theory, by the way. Bishop b6, all theory. Castle. And Karjakin chooses d takes e4, which is theory also. But the main line, or the most popular idea, is knight takes e4, which keeps things a little bit more solid for black on as far as his pawns on the C and D files is concerned. So let's just look at that real quick. So knight takes e4, and then the line will go knight takes c6. As you can see, the pawn is captured on c6. Queen d6 attacking the knight. The knight goes back to b4, not e5 because of c5, undermining the knight. And also f6 will be played to drive the knight off. The c5 is just attacking the center, but f6 will prove that the knight is misplaced. And say, for instance, bishop f4, then simply c takes d4, c takes d4, g5, driving the bishop away, bishop e3, and bishop a6, for example. And you see the activity that I'm talking about from black. So even though he's down a pawn, he has tremendous activity in the position. This is the basic spirit of the opening is in this line for black when he gives up the pawn. So the game after knight takes e4 in this line, knight c6, queen d6, and knight b4. c5 again, d takes, bishop takes, bishop e3, bishop takes e3, and of course bishop b7 can be played here, but bishop takes e3, f takes e3, and rook d8, and this is one of the main tabias of this opening. So black has this isolated pawn in the center, but so does white on e3. Black is down a pawn, but black's position is very solid because he has this powerful knight on e3, which is hard for white to really remove without strengthening black's position. He has his bishop, and as you can see, there's a lot of opportunity on the light squares for the bishop and open lines for the rooks. So this position has proved to be okay for black. So that's like your main line. D takes e4 is played, but knight takes e4 is played a little more. I'll show you another quick example of that. In 2011, the game Igor Kernusov, and Kobelia, after knight takes e4, continued in this main line. Queen d6, knight b4 was played, rook e8, and this game had went rook e1, a5, knight d3, bishop a6, and notice again the activity of black. e7, knight e5, again the knight doesn't really do well on that square because of f6, c6, knight bd2, bishop c7, g3, g5, rook c1, and rook a8. And I just wanted to paint this picture for you. See the activity of black's pieces, and also note black's pawn weakness. So everything is based on activity in this line. He gives up the pawn, and you have to play in this manner in order to compensate. Black went on to win this game in 49 moves, actually. But I just want you to see this position so that you understand what needs to be done is black. This position. So back to our game, Wei Yi and Karjakin. Karjakin opted for d takes e4 as opposed to knight takes e4. So d takes e4 was played. And as you can see, after d takes e4, even though black puts a pawn on e4, his c pawns look a little bit more suspect. They're a little bit weaker. The unit looks stronger with the pawn on d5. Those three pawns clustered together like that. But once you take this pawn away and put it on e4, yes, he's putting a little cramp in white's position, like a little wedge there. But those two c pawns look pretty weak. So Wei Yi played bishop g5, and this also is not uncommon. in 2011, uh, Grandmaster Balo and against Arcade United in France. In this line, D takes E4, Bishop G5, Black plays C5, Knight D2, and here Knight is opted for Bishop B7, and holding on to the E pawn. D takes, Bishop takes, Knight B3 hitting the Bishop, and Bishop B6, and C4, and Black went on to be able to hold this game. Where here he resolved his pawn weakness by getting rid of one of the double pawns with the move C5. So that's one of the ideas of Black, is basically to have his cake and eat it too. So he weakens this complex right here a little bit by bringing the pawn to the E file, and then he hopes to just use that pawn against White center. Actually use both of the pawns, so that's what happens. He dissolves that weakness there. And again, Nidich went on to draw this game. Okay, so back again. Karjakin opted for this line. D takes E4, Bishop G5, and there it is. The idea is to get rid of the weaknesses. So he plays C5. He's attacking the White center. White ignores that and plays Knight D2. The idea is real simple: to capture the E4 pawn, piling up pressure on the knight. Okay, after Knight D2, Karjakin opted for C takes D4. Now here, Bishop B7 is perfectly playable. Again, guarding the E pawn and allowing White to do some of the dirty work, so to speak, and resolve the weakness. So, for instance, instead of White allowing Black to play C takes D4 and entering into an isolated pawn position, White simply captures and helps White eliminate his weaknesses. And this is just a sample line of how things could go. Again, just attacking, staying active, playing E4 to E3. Now there's a mate threat. And again, this is the main spirit of the opening, is Black's activity in compensation for his pawn deficit. And notice all the attacking moves. And right here would be the perpetual, just as an example. And if you're Black, that's a good result. So instead of that move, Karjakin opted for C takes D4. Knight takes E4 was played. D takes C3. And now Wei Yi played Queen F3. So he's piling maximum pressure against F6. And this rook is unprotected here. So there's all kind of tactical assault possibilities. So Karjakin plays a logical move, Bishop B7. But however, after Bishop takes F6, Bishop takes E4, Queen takes E4, Queen F6, White just has a simple plus in the position. And the reason is he's going to win the exchange here. So the pawns might be even, but now the exchange is going to be given up by Karjakin here. Queen G6, Queen G6, H takes G6. Just going into a superior endgame. So let's go back to Queen F6 and look at G takes. G takes F6 doesn't look good either. I mean, the king side is just ripped open. And after, say, Knight G4, for instance, C takes B2, Rook A D1, attacking the queen. F5, knight H6 check, king H8, queen E5 check, F6 only move, knight F7. Black is going to lose his queen. King G7, queen G3, takes, rook takes D8, rook takes D8, queen B3, king G6, and queen takes B2. And white has an advantage here, even though black has two rooks. White also has an extra rook in reserve and is very solid, and black's king is exposed. So neither play looks good for black. So this is just a bad, bad position, period. And black has to go back and strengthen his play. And I think I did that already on move 11 instead of c takes d4. Maybe possibly just bishop b7 here. If you're gonna play this line with 9 takes d4 instead of knight takes e4, which I think is the better line and probably why uh, it's played more by the GMs than d takes e4. All right. So after queen f6, knight d7, queen g6, and there's the exchange. Knight takes f8, c takes b2, rook a b1. Now that move, this sequence with white giving up the exchange, with black giving up the exchange might be okay if black had a way to secure that b pawn, but he doesn't, because he has to capture the king here. The king has to capture the knight here, and then he doesn't have time to bring his bishop to d4 because Wei Yi takes that option away by playing rook fd1. So now what? He's not only stopping the bishop from coming here to d4, but he's also threatening to penetrate on the second rank. Therefore, king e7, rook takes b2, and Karjakin is pretty much lost here for all intents and purposes. g5, Wei Yi just doubles up, rook h8, g3, rook h5, just holding on right now. King g2, king f6, h3, rook h6, and rook d8, basically shutting this rook out of the game permanently. King e7, rook 1 d7, check, king e6, rook back to d2, rook f6, rook g8, attacking a pawn, rook g7, rook e8, king f6, and rook d7. And it is all over. Karjakin had to resign in only 31 moves, because the next move that's coming up will be rook e7, and then those pawns on those rooks on the 7th rank will go wild. So that was a short game by Wei Yi. Demolition of Sergey Karjakin in a well-known opening. So he might have found something. It seems like Wei Yi might have found something in the preparation, and that's definitely a dangerous line for the Berlin. But again, there are two ways to go here. Black can play d takes e4 or knight takes e4, and I think knight takes e4 is the safer option going in here. So I hope you enjoyed that video. As usual, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next game.